Hello and welcome back to Second Operator, the live stream podcast dedicated to portable synthesizers and DAWless music. I am your host, Shines. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking to Daniela, aka Elaviolete, aka Mandala Waves on Instagram. She'll be coming to us from Berlin to speak about her musical background, instrument choices, and her experiences in the mystical realms of ambient and sound healing music. We're going to get into the interview in just a minute after the news. One more quick thing. Next week on May 5th, which is Friday, I will be actually playing a set of my latest tracks at the Meet and Bleep synthesizer event in Raleigh. You can find out more information at Meet and Bleep on Instagram. I hope to see you there. Come say hi. There might actually be some free goodies in it for you if you do. Let's move on to today's news, or actually this week's news. We got a lot of really interesting stuff happening in the synthesizer realm. First things first, we actually have a new desktop analog drum synthesizer. AVP Synth, which I believe is based in Moscow, has released a new 6-channel analog drum synthesizer called the SD6. It's a small blue, seemingly very well-organized drum machine. Looks kind of like a small blue mixer, and it's all triggered through CV inputs and MIDI inputs on the back. It looks to be a very easy-to-use, simple drum machine. And I say simple because there's actually no onboard sequencer. It's kind of an interesting choice to me. It seems like it's clearly not designed to be a standalone device, more of a device that you use along with your arsenal of other stuff, maybe even with your Eurorack system and all of your other MIDI hardware. I think it's supposed to fit in very nicely with your other stuff, with your desktop arsenal. The SD6 has yet to be priced. More on that in the coming weeks. Really exciting. We're actually seeing a lot of analog drum machines this year, actually. We've already seen... in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of analog drum machines kind of pop up. I think that people like to move, or people are starting to want to move a little bit away from samples and start crafting their own drum sounds using analog circuitry, which is just so much fun to do. Second thing, Akai, Japanese company, has released a brand new updated version of their flagship MPC-X called the MPC-X Special Edition. And if you're watching the stream and you can see the image, this thing is an absolute beast of a desktop synth thing. It's humongous. It's about the size of a VCR, and you put it on your desk. It's got a big screen on it. It's got a bunch of buttons and knobs and pads. It's really an incredible looking device. Akai is celebrating their 35th anniversary, the 35th anniversary of the MPC, and a sort of 5-year anniversary of the original MPC-X, which this is sort of the special edition of. This box has a bunch of internal hardware updates, including upgraded RAM and storage, and it actually comes with an expanded lineup of software synths inside. Pretty cool. Other than that, you still have a amazing, gigantic 10.1-inch touchscreen, along with all of your hardware knobs and buttons that make this MPC-X truly the king of DAWless jamming. Actually, the king of the DAWless studio. If you really want to go to the extreme in the DAWless world, I think this machine is the end-all be-all for you. I mean, you can design, record, sequence, mix, and master an entire album or track all on this one device. I mean, it's pretty cool. The MPC-X Special Edition is now available from Akai, and it's going to come in at $24.99 USD for the truly dedicated DAWless musician. Finally, in our last bit of news today, something that I'm really excited about. It's kind of a curveball this week. Critter and Guitari, a company best known for their organelle synthesizer, has introduced the 5 Moons, a 5-track multi-recorder that's housed in this beautiful wooden box, and sports features such as loop recording and bounce down layering. You can record to any of its 5 tracks using its built-in 1/8-inch mono inputs. You can then loop and layer as much as you want. And at the end, when you filled up all 5 tracks, you can bounce those down into one track straight on the device and then start layering using the other remaining tracks again. And you can do that process as many times as you want. So you really do have an unlimited amount of tracks that you can layer and bounce down and layer and use. Pretty awesome stuff. 5 Moons is USB-C powered, and it has a micro SD card port on the back, which, according to Music Radar, will hold about 20 hours of audio at 16-bit, 48 kilohertz quality. I believe that is if you are using a 64 or I think it's a 32 gigabyte card. 5 Moons is available now for $325 USD. Check out the Critter and Guitari website for more information. For those of you watching this stream, this is actually ridiculously exciting. It is basically looks like a small wooden version of Teenage Engineering's TX6 portable mixer, although this one is much more about recording rather than just mixing down. I believe the Teenage Engineering TX6 does not actually do any recording unless you shove a USB drive into it. But it's kind of an interesting parallel here, and we have Teenage Engineering with their OP1 Field and their TX6 portable mixer, and then you, of course, have Critter and Guitari with their organelle synthesizer, which is, many people say it is a OP1 contender. And then you have this little 5-track multi-recorder. So it's weird. It is definitely surface level. It's just kind of in looks, but I am seeing some interesting parallels here. It's really kind of awesome. Obviously, the Critter and Guitari stuff will be at a fraction of the cost of the Teenage Engineering Field things, but it is kind of cool. According to Critter and Guitari's website, this device, the 5 Moons, can actually integrate with Eurorack stuff. According to the manual of this little multi-track recorder, each of the inputs and outputs can also act as 3.5mm TS jacks. So you can actually patch modules through it. I believe then you can mix them down, loop them, and, just do all sorts of stuff to your control voltage that, that's super, super cool. What a versatile little box. And it's a little wooden box. It's a very friendly looking device. I definitely want one. Probably will be heading to the Critter and Guitari website shortly after this podcast. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and give a very warm welcome to Daniela, who plays 80s-inspired desktop synthesizer music as Elaviolete, but also produces ambient music using synthesizers as well as flutes, drums, and other instruments as Mandala Waves, right on Instagram. Let's go ahead and welcome Daniela to the show. So actually, can we maybe just start with say who you are, tell us a bit about your background in music, and maybe tell us a bit about the first instruments that you learned to play as well.
I'm Daniela, and my love for music, as far as I can remember, when I was born, because I immediately felt this strong connection with music. So when I was a child, and I can remember, I asked my parents to study an instrument, and this instrument was the violin. So I started with the violin. And I started with classical music, classical way of doing it, and then playing classical music. So I have all this music I was reading, and I was playing just that, and I was exercising a lot on the violin. So that was my approach.
Wow. Was it the did you go through the Suzuki method by any chance?
No, but I knew it. Like my teacher was talking also about that. We didn't do that, but I know a lot. And actually, I was attracted more to that for some reason.
Interesting,
But
huh?
no, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that has all of like the classical music greatest hits, right? All the different like things that Mozart and Bach and classical composers would make, and then they just kind of, from what I remember, because I was actually classically trained on violin as well.
Cool.
And I did Suzuki, and it was really, they really just drill you on every note, and you just practice the song, you know, over and over again. From what I remember, you learn very well how to play the instrument, but I think songwriting, actual music composing, is not, you don't really learn that in that method, right? Yeah.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
also in the method. So it was not Suzuki, but also how I was trained. That was the point. So I really like reading music, know how to play music, training on classical music, and then I like all the rest of the stuff.
Wow. Can you tell me how you started writing music? How did that kind of come around from that?
I think it just flowed naturally. I think the first time I was also a child, I remember that had this school keyboard and I want to just compose my song. Then I didn't finish the song. But I mean, I started to try to understand how to compose a song and writing also lyrics on top of it. Then I didn't do that for really long. And then in the years, sometimes I had this resistance actually. So I started and then quit and started and quit because it never felt like exactly what I wanted to compose. So there is a whole story in my resistance then to compose music and how the flow went
Wow.
to arrive to really like then doing music.
And where you are now currently. Interesting. I think a lot of people go through that where they are writing music for a long time and then all of a sudden either something happens and they stop, or maybe they just kind of lose interest, or in your, you know, what you were saying is maybe there was a moment where it just wasn't sounding the way that you wanted it to. So can you tell me a little bit about what brought you back into the creation of music?
It was this force inside me that was really like always trying to go out in times in the years. It was really like it's not me, it was not my mind. There was like this is what you are supposed to be, and there was like signs all around me, and then people around me doing music, and then like I was seeing some tools around me, and then other big signs like I live in a building that had musical notes on top.
Oh, wow.
Or things like that. And then like just events, people trying to bring me back to music. While I was having resistance, I always have in the years like people, okay, can you come and sound the violin because that was the instrumental, or can you also participate to this and this. So I was always there in my life. At some point, I say, okay, drop the resistance. I know my love for music was immense, but it's kind of like I don't want to do it because I'm afraid I will. Because I respect music so much, something like that. And then I dropped the resistance because it just was coming from any direction, and this force inside me was not.
That is super cool. So you were brought back into music by a force sort of outside of yourself, but then you realized it is in you. Yeah.
Yeah, outside and inside together, kind of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, you've really been pulled into music by all sorts of different forces, and that's a really cool feeling. I mean, that's you know, music or just art in general, I think we all have some capacity for it within us that we are led to do, but a lot of times it might take external people that are like, hey, can you come and play violin here for my composition, or hey,
Yeah,
can you draw this for me, or something, that sometimes that really does encourage us to continue.
yeah. Especially when you have all this insecurity, like I
Mm,
had for reason, like for many reason, and then I really need this also these external signs and people, and yeah, and of course the strong feeling inside myself. And I
wow.
say, okay, let's do it. Doesn't matter how good you are, and then it's a process, and then embrace the process, like enjoy the process. All these things arrive to me. It's to find your style and things, which I'm still in this process, by the way. That's why like I'm doing different things, and yeah.
Wow. How many years would you say you've been doing this sort of new or kind of music that you're doing?
4 years, yeah,
Four
I
years.
guess.
Okay. So
Yeah,
4 years or
yeah,
so since you've been kind of called back into the music community.
yeah, or 5, yes,
Hmm.
5.
Wow, oh, that's fantastic. Would you say that this is just kind of going off into your community that you have, the one that has pulled you into it? Were they your friends? Did you have like a notice board that you went through? How did they know that you played music to then ask you?
In the years, so it happened also before I really started, and
Mhm.
then I was putting resistor. They knew, like, yeah, this is weird. Like talking, I always say, yeah, I study violin, and I think that was the main things. But then they knew I like love sing. They probably saw me always with headphone, listening to music, listening to, and like it probably was clear that I into music, so I
Mhm.
was always listening to music, and I love to sing, so I was singing all the
Oh,
time, even
cool.
if yeah. And
Wow.
so
Okay, so you were really just kind of more like demonstrating that you had a love for music, and then you had the ability to play it by, telling people, or not keeping it a secret that you played violin or like to sing or just loved music in general. And I think, I really think that's a big part of getting pulled into any kind of community to then participate in there, is
yeah,
to not hide anything. I think that's a really beautiful way to be called into the world of music. How cool. Wow. So, how did you transition from then to, playing music for your friends and being part of that little world, to now making music on your Instagram account? How did that begin?
so it also flow naturally because my friends, and in this sense I was included in some type of projects that were like playing violin, or like more, they were, for example, people using DAW, so composing music and doing tracks in that way. And I started to approach some tool, and then I felt my way of doing, like I felt this attraction for the synthesizer. I discovered the word of synthesizer, which, by the
Nice.
way, like I understood. I always loved synth music, so I was also a lot into synth wave and 80s music and everything.
Cool.
And then I remember I was going this music shop and was attracted by this stuff, but I feel like intimidated. And then I decided, okay, I will buy one because I had this intuition, like it's, and then there I discover everything, and I can have an epiphany of that how I want to do music, and start to experiment, and then it come naturally. I want to share things, because as I was sharing other stuff, because I started a bit on my personal Instagram profile, and I always also was in photography and video as well as another things I like.
Oh, wow.
And then and then I just, okay, sometimes I was playing, I was recording and sharing just the simple things. And from there I discovered, like putting hashtag and everything, the whole community,
Yep.
uh, and that was amazing because it allowed me to discover so many instrument technique awards, like it everything open, like when I started, and I discovered what's going on Instagram.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it really is a whole world out there. I mean,
yeah.
have you ever participated in the January stuff?
No, I wanted, and then I never did it. Also, there was the Beatober, I think, and
Oh,
then the
yeah, yeah.
January. Yeah, I always, like, I was thinking, yes, I will do, and then for some like reason, I never did it. but it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it just comes
Yeah.
to
So
show just how big that world is that you then discovered. Can I ask what that synthesizer was, the very first one that you got?
the micro Korg.
Oh, wow. You know, that I think is a first synthesizer for a lot of people. It's a very friendly, all in one
Yeah.
sort of instrument, right?
Yeah.
What was it
And I
that
had
drew? Yeah.
so much fun with it, and it opened like everything,
Wow.
and I was okay.
Wow. What kinds of things did you do with the microcorg?
Like I was just trying experimenting, and then I was doing like different kind of things. I cannot even remember. Like it was just I was just so excited of the
Cool.
sound I can make on it, and then yeah.
That's super cool. I think it's a good first synthesizer for a lot of folks here
Yeah.
to get into creating different sounds or what are they like patching on that synthesizer. The main reason I got one, or it was actually my brother that got one, but it had a vocoder built into it, so you can do things with your
Yes.
voice. And I'm
Yes,
curious if you
exactly.
tried anything of that sort out on it as well.
Yeah. It's also that part was super cool because as I was saying, then I really like to play with to sing, but also do experiment with the voice, and that was super cool.
Wow.
Feature that-
That's so cool. Do you feature the microcorg in any of your current Instagram videos?
I think there is a like it's not visible, but yeah, there is something that was made, and there is the microchord as a bass, let's say, like, and then I was playing pan flute on top.
Oh, cool.
So because I like flutes and like I like to this fusion between the synthesizer and then instrument, like flute and drums and yeah.
That is super cool. So how do you pronounce the name of your current Instagram profile?
Mandala Waves or the Elaviolete?
Elaviolete. Okay.
Yeah.
Which can you tell me which one came first, Elaviolete or Mandala Waves?
So Elaviolete existed
Okay.
before because it was my personal profile, let's say,
Oh,
and I
okay.
think I started to put my first what I was saying there because. And then I decided, okay, I need a separate profile where I do my experiment, especially the sound healing.
Cool.
Because then I got this idea, and then I will call it Mandala Waves.
Wow.
Because the name arrived, and I will do like it will be kind of anonymous. I mean, it's a project. It's this container where there will be this stuff, and the other one is my personal profile, and then I knew it. My personal profile became also music profile, but which is now what I'm doing also there.
Yes.
But a bit different because it's me doing music and finding my style and doing more like trying to because I'm still in process.
Right. Well, we're all still learning. Yeah.
Structure music with rhythm and like some structure and where I can put any style basically, so there is this difference even if they intersect each other because of course there is my like style and energy and yeah.
Right. That makes sense. That's really cool. And I think more in the Mandala Waves profile, I'm seeing your blend of the sort of the organic or the your pan flutes and your drums together with those synthesizers, and I think that's a really cool direction that your music has taken. Whereas in Elaviolete, you're seeing a lot more of your synthesizer-based compositions, a lot more 80s and beats and melodies and things of that nature.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really smart thing to sort of separate the two and have Mandala Waves, your alternate profile, be something more experimental and a lot more you're trying a lot more things in it. So that's really awesome. And let's actually, what we'll do is let's take a quick break now, and I'm going to play one of your tracks from Mandala Waves. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how you got into the whole sound healing world, the world of ambient, in right just a minute. So we have just listened to your track. Does it have a name?
No, I mean, I think I call it space meditation because I had this feeling that could be like have this sound that have to bring you in this other dimension,
Cool.
but also like good for meditation. Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Can you tell us what the instruments are? I think that's an arturia, right?
Yeah, microfreak, and then there is it's called Ravast drum. It's a kind of drum, but it's this specific one is Ravast drum, which I love. It's just an amazing instrument that you can play as it is, and especially the feeling also while you're playing, you feel the vibration on the instrument on you, and it's kind of healing. It's a good feeling to play it.
Wow. Oh, that's really, how big is that drum? You were kind of sitting and playing it, right?
Yeah, it's big. Like I cannot really like. It's also heavy. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Big. So yeah, I guess that kind of lends itself to then pushing the vibration sort of through your body. Really, that's really cool. Yeah. So how so we'll kind of start talking a little bit about sound healing and what that sort of means. So you're mentioning vibrations through the body, which from my very, very limited understanding of sound healing and that sort of world is what, vibrations are what it's all about. Can you tell us a little bit about what sound healing sort of means, either to you or just in general?
Okay. Yes. I was always attracted to sound healing as a practice. I was in this process where I was re-entering like the music world, let's say, or doing music. I also start to do a lot of meditation and go into sound baths, sound journey especially, and that was for me amazing, like this merging of this like sound, use it in this way, and I start to like having this feeling, like especially in the gong bath, like this cosmic sound, this amazing sound that was affecting the whole body, and I was like, whoa, that's I need to know more about this. Like this really, it's a topic I want to dive into. And it sounds so connected to, like it was connecting to the fact that I love music and not just also playing music and but really understand sound. So what sound is, what is vibration, frequency, like go in this world of...
in the sound healing world.
Learning, learning about all these things and how the sound affect our brain and our body, the cell, and this, because I can really perceive the effect. And by the way, I was always like, even before that, I remember I was so fascinated about Tibetan bowl, shamanic drums, so all these flutes. So there are these flute, this big flute. Also Native American flute, and I have some. Cool. But the bansuri, but all the other the flute that are used in some of this.
Wow. Yeah, you mentioned a sound bath. What instruments or what kind of situation would that be?
Situation where it's just gong bath. So you go there, they play gong, you just lay down and have this. Yeah, it's like you are immersed in the sound. Wow. And then there are other situations where you do meditation, other practice yoga, and then at the end you have this at the end or other part. And then there are this sound journey that combine different instruments, and they like lead you to some state of meditation, to arrive to the deep state of meditation, and then go out of the deep state of meditation with this different instrument depending on their frequency. So that's also amazing because you do the whole journey in this immersion of sound.
Wow. Oh, that's super cool. How do you feel about synthesizers being in the sound healing world? Do you feel that most, because from what I am hearing, it's mostly gongs, drums, actual physically vibrating instruments. So how do you feel about the frequencies generated by a synthesizer and how they can affect you?
Yeah, that's a question I was also always asking myself. Like, it is good to mix this soup for like the way of sound healing. And at the end, I just felt since I was lead to do that, because I really like this fusion of this kind of instrument and the synthesizer, that I wanted to do this because after also talking about the community, I discovered how many people also were experimenting this actually. So I saw many other people that I've seen, and then Tibetan bowls, crystal singing bowl, or mixing the two things together, and also discovered people that in this kind of event, they do music with both.
Wow.
Which was okay. So there are people that are having this feeling to merge these two things, that it felt like merging ancient with futuristic and having a new way to do some dealing, or which to me seems amazing, because I like this combination. I like to combine things, and I like what synthesizer can do, that can create many, like this vast, immense type of sounds. There are also ethereal space. I have this connection with like sound that bring you like in space, while there can be other people more connected to natural sound.
Right.
Like for me, sea, ocean and sea, and then creating this sound that for me remind of space. And then mixing it with this bowl, crystal singing bowl and Tibetan bowl, or drums. I also have a shamanic drums, and I still have not posted anything, but I am playing like singing and shamanic drums. Yeah.
So that's coming.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that having both elements in there is actually really, that makes a lot of sense. What would you say you create with your synthesizer? So do you, that makes this sort of cosmic vibe? Do you use effect pedals? Do you have reverbs? What kinds of sounds and tones do you think really create that vibe?
I put a lot of reverb, and I love shimmer.
Shimmer is the best.
Yeah. I really love that kind, and I really love to now diving deep in how it is, how this song is created. So when I also work another way, and I understand how I can create the effect, and make me understand how the sound works, how the everything works, and create this, and then connect me, because I have also the brain that is very mathematical. I'm also a programmer, and then I discover how many people, how this is so interconnected. So and how many people like me are like kind of studying all the mathematical and all this kind of stuff connected to sound, and really.
Oh, they're starting to really study the frequencies as a science. Yes. Oh, that's super cool.
And I like the information. I was thinking, I want to know, and how long it will take me to really arrive to the point. But it doesn't matter. Like this, what I learn in all this process. I step by step will have the information, and I, in the meantime, creating, and in the meantime, in the time that is required, let's say.
Yeah. Oh, that's
This
awesome.
is another blockage. I noticed the fact that you like kind of, maybe you can be scared about all the things you need to learn and the information you can have, and never feel qualified or like good prepared enough. But it's completely okay that there is a process.
Right. No, it's important to know that we can't know everything about a specific topic, and something like sound healing too. It's very personal, I think, to each person, how one person will, I guess, engage with the sound frequency. I think everyone does work a little bit differently there. Some people will prefer drums or flutes, and others can really vibe to the shimmer reverb on a Arturia synthesizer. So that's really interesting. I mean, that's you do really raise a good point about this is all an experimental process, and just diving in and actually doing it is really, that's the practice. That's the name of the game. So I think that's excellent. Do you have, like, let's say some of our listeners out there are looking to start getting into ambient music or sound healing music. Is there anything that they should maybe look for or listen for when they're creating that you can maybe say that's something that you should follow?
follow like a profile of people that
As in like
I
when you're
no.
listening, when you're in the creation of, say, you're making a sequence or you're playing a chord on your synth, is there a moment that clicks where you feel like you're getting more into that healing sort of vibration? Is there something that if I was creating something that I should try and listen out for?
I always think like just while you're doing that, for me it's like you are in a meditation moment and
Mm.
you're kind of channeling something. At least is how I feel. So I think each person in that moment, if really go in contact with the portal in itself, that and the connection, and it will feel exactly. So that's the thing, to try to go into this meditation state is the best, more and more, like, and then you will feel you enter that state, and that is the moment where I think the for me it's even the hands are moving by themselves on the, like, even in the
Wow.
knobs of the synthesizer, or because it's I'm in that state, and it's how I like to do it, like how I feel is really coming through me, and from outside, to create something to
It's almost like you're channeling something else.
yeah,
Very cool.
exactly.
Wow. Okay, so that's something. I mean, is there any way you can really prepare for that? Do you do, yoga or meditations before you create music?
So I do meditation often, but I can say sometimes, so can be that maybe before I do meditation, but sometimes no. Sometimes I feel like, okay, now I have the moments, like I feel I really have this force that I was saying before inside me,
Mhm.
and I stay there and I slowly enter. So it can be that I start to play and it's like normal, and then I enter a moment where I really in the state and things are start to go by themselves, and
Cool.
I feel, yeah, it's the moment where I'm channeling really.
Oh, that's awesome. It feels sort of like this conversation we started, a while ago, and now we're here. It's great. I mean, it's really has just flowed, sort of like a meditation. But I think that's really good advice for people getting into it, is really, set those intentions, and then try and practice getting into that flow state where you're almost channeling something outside of you. You're not really the one turning the knob, something else, or
Exactly.
you're being sort of you're guiding this sort of
Yeah,
meditative process. I think that's very, very nice. Yeah.
yeah. It's like you're the channel, the you're used
Mhm.
by another force to bring that,
Yep.
and
Cool.
that feels amazing also because
It just feels great. It's kind of
yeah,
it's therapeutic to you as well as,
yeah,
people
yeah.
that might be listening. So that's really great. So we're gonna wrap things up here in just a little bit here. But do you have any advice for people that are just kind of getting started on synthesizers in general, or on synthesizer Instagram?
I think what I was saying before, to not be scared or overwhelmed at the beginning, thinking, oh, it's like a lot to learn, and then they feel, because at least for me was the approach with synthesizer, like I need to learn many things, and then I wanted at the same
Mhm.
time be able to use it to really be able to have the flow I wanted, and then so for me, and then I was seeing this thing, like you see the community and you
Mhm.
see this super amazing talented, they know how to play every instrument, they know how to interconnect the instrument. At the beginning I was like, wow, like I don't know anything how to I mean, it seems so difficult, it seems intimidating, and
Mm.
then I would say to not be, because it seems complicated maybe at the beginning, and then once you start a process, and it's like a flow where you specifically will understand what you need for what you want to do.
Mm.
So for you, uniqueness is the word in English.
Mm.
You will learn the things that you're required to learn. You cannot know anything. That's the thing, because
Mhm.
or at least maybe there is someone that knows almost everything. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but in the process you will start to learn everything that you will need for your personal journey in synthesis and synthesizer.
That's great. Yeah, just following that journey and progressing it as far as you want it to go. I think that is excellent advice for people just getting started with synths. Before we go, do you have any current projects that you want to maybe, do a plug for, any albums coming out or any shows or community events that you might want to talk about?
Not at the moment. I think there will be things, but I still have in this resistance on some level. So I had some requests show and everything, and I feel no, maybe it's not yet the moment, because I also follow this. I will know where is the moment. There will be a exact moment where but yeah, I am working on a P, let's say, but I don't have I'm not planned where it will be out, because I will feel I don't put on myself a deadline on this. So
right, you will know, you will feel when it is
ready. I will feel. I am all on this. Like I
cool.
all on flow and feeling, and
I think that's an excellent way to approach music. Just do it by feel. A lot of people do it by ear and stuff, but I think putting deadlines is one thing, but I think just letting it kind of channel through you, I think that's a really great way to get your music out there.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have my approach. Like I just can't be in this approach, otherwise I start to have blockage. That's the thing. Yeah.
Wow, it's a good practice to get into, and I think we'll definitely be keeping an eye on your Instagram profile for new videos. I mean, you have two of your Instagram profiles. I'm really excited about both of them. So yeah, we'll really keep an eye on those, and if there's any news about EPs or anything like that, we'll definitely keep an eye out as well. Cool. Well, is there anything that you want to close on? Any other shout outs or anything for the community?
I'm so amazed by the music community, the synthesizer community.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for being on Second Operator with us today.
Thanks to you. Thanks for having me. It was super nice.
Yeah, thank you. You can find Daniela on Instagram at Elaviolete or at Mandala Waves. You've been listening to Second Operator. Thank you so much for joining us here on the live stream and for being part of this amazing community. If you want to get in touch with me with any news or community shoutouts, you can connect with me on Instagram at second.operator, as well as on Twitter at second_operator. You can also find us right here on YouTube at youtube.com/@second_operator. And eventually you'll find us on every podcasting platform in the known universe. If you'd like to support our show, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/second_operator. There's currently 2 tiers available, and both tiers will get a cool Second Operator sticker. So if you're interested, please go check that out. It would mean the world to me if you did. Next week, we are going to be interviewing world traveler Lupin the Verb. Fresh back from a trip to Japan, we'll be unpacking his trip along with all of the amazing OP1 field jams he's been creating while abroad. Please keep an eye on my Instagram page for more details, as well as the actual date that interview will be happening live. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I've had an amazing time being your host. It's just a humbling experience to be able to talk to everybody and actually connect with you live like this in the community. So thank you so much. I'm so happy that I get to do this, and we will see you in the next episode. See ya.